Hello, welcome to IELTS Online Preps. I am David. This video provides you solutions to the second passage of an academic reading test. In case you missed the solutions to the first passage, do well to browse our collections here on this platform for it. Now, let's take a plunge right into it. Reading passage 2. You should spend about 20 minutes on questions 14 to 26, which are based on reading passage 2 on the following pages. This is the second passage of an academic training module. So, this is an academic reading text. This particular passage has two groups of questions. We have questions 14 to 19 and questions 20 to 26. Unlike the first passage that has three groups of questions, right? The first group of question in the previous passage is matching information to paragraphs. The second group is matching events to nationalities, while the last group of questions in the previous passage is diagram labeling. Unlike this passage 2 that has just two groups of questions, and the first group of questions in this passage is matching headings to paragraphs. So what this implies is that you are given a list of headings, and from the instruction here, the passage has 7 paragraphs, A to G. So the paragraphs have been lettered from A to G. So it means that each paragraph is expected to be given a heading. Now, here is the list of headings. We have Roman figure 1 to Roman figure 10. Right, each Roman figure has a heading, and if you are to answer questions like these, you are not to write out the headings but the Roman figures. For instance, let's say paragraph A has the heading which is Roman figure 2, aviation disaster prompts action. Just for example, it means you are going to use Roman figure 2 as your answer, yes, for this question number 14 for paragraph A. The instruction is important. You must read the instructions regardless of your level of familiarity with different question types. You must make sure that you read the instructions. Now, here are the instructions. Reading passage 2 has 7 paragraphs, A to G. Choose the correct heading for paragraphs A and C to G. From the list below, write the correct number, Roman figure 1 to Roman figure 10, in boxes 14 to 19 on your answer sheets. For those who are doing paper-based tests, of course, this instruction is for you. For those who are doing computer-delivered tests, you will have your instructions spelled out for you during the test. Let's take a look at the passage itself and confirm this instruction, especially the description of the passage. Two things we're going to check. We're going to confirm the number of paragraphs we have in that passage. Yes, and then we're going to check the title of the passage. Why do we need to check or read the title of the passage? This gives us a general overview of what the passage is all about. So we have a feel of the passage. We get to know what the passage is talking about, if not in its entirety, but we will see what it talks about. Here is the passage. Yes, as you can see, the title of the passage is Air Traffic Control in the USA. You are expected to know what the entire passage is likely going to be talking about and what you are going to be reading about. Good. Alright, so we checked the number of paragraphs that we have. You can see here, this is the first paragraph, lettered A. The second paragraph is lettered B. And the third paragraph is lettered C, while the fourth paragraph is lettered D. Then we check the other paragraphs. Yes, the other paragraphs, yes, from this page, we have paragraph E, paragraph F, and paragraph G. This is not the end of paragraph G. This is the end of paragraph G, which marks the end of the passage. Good. The next thing we're going to do is to go back to the question and the list of headings. Here are the questions according to the paragraphs. Paragraph A, paragraph C, paragraph D, paragraph E, paragraph F, and paragraph G. For you to be able to answer questions like this, matching headings to paragraphs, you are expected to read paragraph A, but mind you, you are not to read the entire paragraph, even though some tests might require you to read the entire paragraph. The text itself might require you, because if you read a part of the paragraph and you still not find your answer, you might need to read other sentences or other lines in the paragraph just for you to be able to find your answer. So in this case, we're going to be using paraphrasing skill. That's the first skill we're going to be using. But first, we need to read a part of the paragraph for us to be able to know what we are paraphrasing. And when you're paraphrasing, it means that you might need to use your own words. Of course, not you might. You would need to use your own words, because your own words, the use of your own words helps you to have your own idea of the passage and to put the same idea that you have read in the passage into comparison with the list of headings that you have. We go to the paragraph now. Paragraph A. Let's read a part of this paragraph. Here is paragraph A. An accident that occurred in the skies over the Grand Canyon in 1956 resulted in the establishment of the Federal Aviation Administration, also known as FAA, to regulate and oversee the operation of aircrafts in the skies over the United States, which were becoming quite congested. This is the first sentence. Of course, you can see obviously this paragraph contains two sentences, and I have read one of the sentences. That's the first sentence. From the first sentence, I'm expected to summarize what the entire paragraph is talking about. What is the general idea? But let's take a look at the paragraph carefully, especially the first sentence and importantly the highlighted areas. Two events occurred. Number one event is an accident, alright, which occurred in 1956, while the second event is the establishment of the Federal Aviation Administration. That is the second event. But the second event did not happen until after the first event. The first event gave birth to the second event. So there wouldn't have been the second event without the first event. So we understand now that there is an establishment of a body that is expected to regulate and oversee the operation of aircraft because of the accident that occurred. So let's take a look at the headings. Let's go back to the paragraph A describes the Grand Canyon accident of 1956, which resulted in the establishment of the FAA to regulate air traffic. This directly matches the idea of a tragedy leading to regulations. Aviation disaster prompts action. And what is the action? The establishment of the FAA. Paragraph A already has its heading, and that is Roman figure 2. The next paragraph, which is paragraph C now. Paragraph C, we're gonna do the exact thing we did for paragraph A. In the 1940s, ATC centers could indeed take advantage of the newly developed radar and improved radio communication brought about by the Second World War, but the system remained rudimentary. This is the first sentence. It's an opening sentence to this paragraph. So from the opening sentence, we are expected to summarize the entire paragraph. So what is the general idea in this paragraph? First, you must understand that there are two events that also occurred in this paragraph, or let's say two developments. The first development is the radar, while the second development is the improved radio communication. These are the two things that happened. We go back to the headings and look for a heading that talks about developments. Two things that happened, or two developments that take place in this paragraph. Paragraph C discusses radar and radio communication improvements during World War II, which helped shape modern ATC systems. So, we can say for paragraph C that its perfect, suitable, or appropriate heading is Roman figure 3. Question number 16, which is paragraph D. We're going to read the first sentence too. One or two sentences there. Yes, look at the highlighted area. All right. Many people think that ATC consists of a row of controllers sitting in front of their radar screens at the nation's airports, telling arriving and departing traffic what to do. This is a very incomplete part of the picture. Many people think that the ATC consists of a row of controllers, but that's not the case. This paragraph is meant to correct the perspective of people about the function of the ATC. The people do not yet have the perfect or complete picture of what ATC is all about. So their view is incomplete. Their view is not in line with the function or what ATC exists for. We go back to the list of headings now. We'll go back there and check. We're going to make use of this last sentence here. This is a very incomplete part of the picture. That sentence tells us and corrects the perspective of the people. Paragraph D explains what people think about the control room and how the picture of the place was incomplete. We have a heading already for paragraph D, and that is an oversimplified view, which is Roman figure 5, oversimplified view. Their view about the function of A to C was incomplete and incorrect. We have established the heading, the summary of this paragraph, which is paragraph D. We go to paragraph E. Here is paragraph E. Very good. We're going to read the highlighted area of the paragraph. In general, from 365 meters above the ground and higher, the entire country is blanketed by controlled airspace. In certain areas, mainly near airports, controlled airspace extends down to 215 meters above the ground, and in the immediate vicinity of an airport, all the way down to the surface. Controlled airspace is that airspace in which FAA regulations apply. What can you say about these sentences? Think that should be 1, 2, 3. Yes, 3 sentences here. Here is a kind of a division or a categorization, yes, of airspace, a categorization of airspace. So we have controlled airspace and we have uncontrolled airspace. So this particular aspect or this particular paragraph is telling us about the division, the categorization, the grouping, right, of airspace. For FAA regulations to stand, they devised a mechanism, a division here. We have categorization in this place. So we go back to the list of headings, yes, and we check for ourselves which of the headings best explains this. Paragraph E explains how airspace is categorized using meters. So we have controlled and uncontrolled airspaces. You can see here the use of meters. You can see 365 meters and 215 meters. So these meters are used in certain altitude zones. Roman figure 4 summarizes the paragraph, and that is paragraph E, as it explains how airspace is categorized using meters. Then we go to the next question, which is 18, paragraph F. Again, we go back to the passage, paragraph F. Yes, we go back to the passage. From the first sentence, let's read from the first sentence of the paragraph. The FAA then recognized 2 types of operating environments. In good meteorological conditions, flying would be permitted under visual flight rules known as VFR, which suggests a strong reliance on visual cues to maintain an acceptable level of safety. So from this paragraph, we can see that it's about weather conditions. Paragraph tells us about rules or regulations regarding flying in certain or under certain weather conditions. So we go back to the list of headings again and check for ourselves what is the best heading that explains this paragraph, which is paragraph F. Paragraph F details the permission, rules, regulations of flights in meteorological conditions, setting rules to weather conditions. That is Roman figure 8. That is your answer there. That is the suitable or appropriate heading for that paragraph, which is paragraph F. The last paragraph we're going to be considering is paragraph G. So we go back again to the passage and check for ourselves, which is paragraph G. Here is paragraph G. Controlled airspace is divided into several different types, designated by letters of the alphabet. Uncontrolled airspace is designated class F, while controlled airspace below 5,490 meters above sea level, not in the vicinity of an airport, is Class E. Controlled airspace is divided into several different types, designated by letters of the alphabet, and we have uncontrolled airspace is designated Class F, while controlled airspace below 5,490 meters above sea level and not in the vicinity of an airport is Class C. You can see that for matching headings, we are expected to read the the passage. Of course, how we read the passage or the paragraph matters also, so that we don't waste too much time in responding to some of these questions. Yes, and finding the right heading for the paragraphs. Paragraph G explains how airspace is divided into several different types, and that is defining airspace categories, and that is Roman figure 7 for paragraph G. Now to the last section of questions of passage 2, questions 20 to 26. Here you are given a number of factual statements and you have to check in the text if they are true, false or not given. This type of questions are all about factual information in the passage. It's not about opinions, it's about facts. True means that the statement in the question agrees with the information in the passage. False means the statement in the question contradicts the information in the passage. Contradict means it's the opposite meaning. Not given means there is no information on the statements. That is, the statement in the question has no basis in the paragraph. So this task is used to assess your ability to find particular information in the passage. And if you want to answer these type of questions, care must be taken. For example, you must make sure that you read the instructions carefully and know if it is true, false or not given a question type. You also need to read all the statements carefully. Try to understand what the whole sentence means rather than simply highlighting keywords. Of course, keywords might be helpful, but you need deeper understanding of the statement, because if you do not understand the statement, it might be difficult for you to be able to pick whether a statement is true, false or not given. It's better that you understand a whole sentence, a whole statement, rather than picking words. However, we still need those words, like keywords, to help us. Those keywords will guide our way to the right section, to the right parts of the passage that contains the information on the statement we are looking for. So, for us to find the right part of the text, then we make use of keywords. Let's take number 20 for instance. The FAA was created as a result of the introduction of the jet engine. We look for FAA. Where is the first place this FAA is mentioned in the passage? Then we look at created. Of course, if we check created, yes, check for created in the passage, we may not find such a word there. It might be a synonym or other expressions that we're going to have for this particular word. The next one is jet engine. But just like I told you, first thing first, understand the whole sentence. The FAA was created as a result of the introduction of the jet engine. From this statement, this is saying that FAA was established because of the introduction of the jet engine. Without the jet engine, there wouldn't be FAA. So we go back to the passage and confirm this, since we have established our understanding of this statement. It was jet engine that made or that brought about the creation of FAA. So what is FAA? We saw that in paragraph A. That's the first paragraph. An accident that occurred in the skies over the Grand Canyon in 1956 resulted in the establishment of the Federal Aviation Administration, also known as FAA, to regulate and oversee the operation of aircrafts in the skies over the United States. And the rest of the sentence continues that way. So from this highlighted area, we could see that there is nothing mentioned about jet engine or its introduction. What brought about the creation of FAA? Creation, establishment, right? Say that is another word that we can use. Yes, to stand in place of created, established. From this statement now, from this first paragraph, I hope you can see clearly. I hope you have your answer already. Here we go. The passage, according to paragraph A, states that the FAA was created due to the 1956 Grand Canyon crash, not because of jet engines. Question number 21. Air traffic control started after the Grand Canyon crash in 1956. We need to establish first our understanding of these statements. There is an establishment of air traffic control, a set of people that are in charge of air traffic. Another name you can call them is ATC, just like FAA, that's Federal Aviation Administration. In this case, it is ATC, that is Air Traffic Control. According to this statement, it is said that ATC started after the Grand Canyon crash in 1956. So we go back to the passage and see where ATC is mentioned in the passage. There is air traffic control in paragraph A, but nothing much is really said about ATC there. Go to paragraph B, where we find the whole paragraph dedicated to ATC. The first line, or the first sentence as it is, rudimentary air traffic control, known as ATC, existed well before the Grand Canyon disaster. Paragraph B states that the rudimentary ATC existed before the crash, and that is starting in the 1920s. I hope you have your answer there. Number 21. Is this statement true, false, or not given? Now 22. Beacons and flashlights are still used by ATC today. First, you need to understand the statements, meaning that ATC are still using beacons and flashing lights in their operations. How do we then find the exact paragraph that has information on these statements? We'll use keywords to locate the right section of the passage that contains this information we are looking for. What are the right keywords? We use beacons and we use flashing lights. So let's go back to the passage and find out where beacons and flashing lights are mentioned. In paragraph B, we start reading from the second sentence in paragraph B. As early as the 1920s, the earliest air traffic controllers manually guided aircraft in the vicinity of the airports using lights and flags, while beacons and flashing lights were placed along cross-country routes to establish the earliest ways. So we have found beacons. Can you see beacons here? And we have flashing lights. According to the statement in the question, it was said that beacons and flashing lights are still used by ATC today. Does this paragraph, this sentence we've just read, does it support the statement? Does the information contained in this paragraph support the statement? Or does the statement agree with this information? Does it contradict the information? Or there is no information on this statement at all? The passage mentions that beacons and flashing lights were used in the 1920s. But it never says anything about whether they are still in use today. Since it doesn't say anything about whether they are still in use today, what do you think that suggests? Does it suggest the statement is false, or it suggests there is no information on the statement? Question number 23. Some improvements were made in radio communication during World War II. Improvements, radio communication are the key words or key terms we need to use to locate the right paragraph that has information on these statements. And that is what we're going to use to trace the information. But first, we should understand what is happening here. Some improvements were made in radio communication during World War II. So meaning that there were improvements in radio communication. So we'll look at the passage, find out about these statements, and we'll use keywords such as improvements, such as radio communication. So we're going to look for a paragraph that has radio communication or improvements and or World War II. Paragraph C. In the 1940s, ATC centers could take advantage of the newly developed radar and improved radio communication brought about by the Second World War. We have seen the three key items that we're supposed to look for from the statements in the question. Number one is improvement. We have seen something like improved here. Number two is radio communication is here. We also found out that there is Second World War here in the paragraph, but the way it's written in the statement is different. Having established the keywords, we go back to the statement and check whether the statement is true, false, or not given. Paragraph C states that radar and radio communication improved during World War II, helping modern ATC. You are left to decide whether this statement is true, false, or not given. I've provided you a paragraph that explains the information regarding the statements. According to paragraph C, let's go to 24. Class F airspace is airspace which is below 365 meters and not near airports. This airspace is below 365 meters and not near airports. According to the classification in the passage, we have controlled airspace and we have uncontrolled airspace. We need to check for Class F. Where is Class F in the passage? Where is 365 meters and airports? Yes, we check those three items or terms in the passage so that once we get that paragraph, we'll be able to read the paragraph well and understand the information provided on those three terms. Let's go back to the passage and look for Class F. Paragraph G, where we have controlled airspace is divided into several different types designated by letters of the alphabet. Uncontrolled airspace is designated Class F, while controlled airspace below 5,490 meters above sea level, not in the vicinity of an airport, is Class E, the beginning of paragraph G. So we go back to the statements. That is, the statements in the question and check. Paragraph G defines Class F as uncontrolled airspace, since this airspace is outside the vicinity of an airport, making this statement correct. You have to decide whether the statement is true, false, or not given. Quickly to number 25, all aircrafts in Class E airspace must use IFR. All aircrafts in Class E airspace must use IFR. That is Instruments Flight Rules. This is the first time we're seeing Class E, and that is in paragraph G. And take a look at this other one, the second highlighted area. Generally, Class E airspace is where one finds general aviation aircrafts, few of which can climb above 5,490 meters anyway, and commercial turboprop aircrafts. Above 5,490 meters is the realm of the heavy jets, since jet engines operate more efficiently at higher altitudes. Let's move on to the second part, which is the last part of the paragraph. The difference between H, Class E, and A airspace is that in Class A, particularly now, in Class A, all operations are IFR, and pilots must be instrument rated, that is, skilled and licensed in aircraft instrumentation. That's the difference you have between classes H, E, and A. So in A, all operations are IFR. We go back to the statements according to question number 25. In paragraph G, the passage explains that in Class A, all operations are IFR, Instrument Flight Rules. So making the statement incorrect. You can see the statement is all aircraft in Class E airspace must use IFR. So now you can decide whether the statement is true, false, or not given. Lastly, 26. A pilot entering Class C airspace, take note of Class C airspace, then take note of average-sized city. We look for these terms in the passage. Anywhere these terms are found in the passage, we read that section of the passage carefully to be able to understand what is needed here and the information about this statement. A pilot entering Class C airspace is flying over an average-sized city. Look for Class C airspace, yes, and look for average-sized city. You may not find all of these, especially average-sized city, exactly as it is written in this statement in the passage. You may not find it that way. So, what do? You can think of other words like synonyms. Yes, let's go to these. Yes, the last part of the passage, which is paragraph G. We can start reading from the green highlights. Start from there. 3 other types of airspace, classes D, C, and B, govern the vicinity of airports. These correspond roughly to small municipal, medium-sized metropolitan and major metropolitan airports respectively, and encompass an increasingly rigorous set of regulations. For example, all a VFR pilot has to do to enter Class C airspace is establish two-way radio contact with ATC. Look at that. This part of the paragraph explains that a pilot can enter Class C airspace. Yes, it's already been established that a pilot can enter Class C airspace. We go back to the statement in the question and find out for real. Take a look at that. Paragraph G states that Class C applies to medium-sized metropolitan areas. In addition to this, pilots can enter Class C airspace. Alright, so this brings us to the end of passage 2 reading tests.